Okay.
Yes.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Hans Klingson. I'm chairman of the Village of Fishkill Planning Board. At this time, I'll call the Village of Fishkill Planning Board August 20th meeting to order. Excuse me, I'll ask the secretary for a roll call to establish a quorum. When you answer, please state that you are alone and to prevent undue references. Will the secretary please take roll call?
Hans Klingson, Chairman.
Present.
Board Member Teresa Cucciolo.
Present. Am I muted? No.
No.
Good.
Board Member Raylene Van Gelderen.
Here.
Board Member Stephen Brown.
Here.
Board Member Suzanne Speziali.
Here.
Also present tonight is the alternate board member Matt Bateri, Code Enforcement Officer Tom Bantine, Village Planner Sarah Brown, Planning Board Attorney Victoria Polidoro, Village Attorney Larry Paggi, and myself, Angela Arison, Village Clerk.
Okay, we do have a full quorum. We do have a meeting. During the meeting, when you speak, please state who you are. For example, Mr. Chairman, Tom Bantine speaking. Thank you. So this way the secretary knows who is speaking and she can have that for her records. Now, I have confirmed with the board council that tonight's meeting has been convened in accordance with the governor's March 13th, 2020 executive order 202.1, which suspends certain provisions of the open meeting law to allow a municipal board to convene a meeting via video conferencing in accordance with the executive order. The public has been provided with the ability to view tonight's meeting, and the transcript will be provided at a later date. I have done a roll call with the board members, and there is a quorum present at this meeting. I have also confirmed with the board secretary that this meeting has been duly noticed and have fulfilled our legal notice requirements by posting notices on the village bulletin board and news organizations, etc., and posting notice on the Village Agenda Center's website. At this time, we'll first item on the agenda is the approval of the meeting of July 23rd.
I just want to start by making a statement. We have a lot of people from the public here tonight. Welcome, everyone. Everyone should stay muted until it's your turn to speak if you're an applicant. And I know that people have signs, but if the movement starts to get distracting, then I'm going to turn off the video for the time being. You're welcome to put your sign up, but if you start getting distracting, you're going to take over the screen. So we'll have to turn the video feed off. Thank you.
Okay. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes of the July 23rd meeting?
So moved. Chairman, this is Teresa Cucciolo. So moved.
Do I have a second?
Raylene Van Gelderen, second.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Roll call vote, please.
Hans,
Yes.
Teresa,
Yes.
Raylene,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Suzanne. Carried.
Good. First item on the agenda is the referral from the planning board to the village board for Bill A2020, a proposed local law to amend Schedule C of the village zoning code to permit warehousing building in the village of Fishkill. Sarah, do you want to address that, please?
Yes, I'm sorry, Hans, you broke up for a second. Which item was it?
The warehouse regulations?
Yes. It cut out right at the moment that you said what it was.
Yeah.
So as the board will recall, at the last meeting, we discussed a local law that had been sent to you to be reviewed from the village board regarding regarding warehouse buildings and having some storage in existing structures along Main Street. So I sent a copy of the memo to everyone. I had taken your notes down and the recommendations that we had written after the last meeting. So I'll go over the amendments now. The board was recommending that the definition of warehouse building be replaced with a definition for something that was more describing of the storage that was proposed. So what I had come up with was a definition for personal storage unit. So that would distinguish this more from like a mini storage use or a storage warehouse, and actually make it for little individual storage units. And the definition would be a portion of existing floor area in a commercial building that is leased for use as an area to stow personal items. It would add personal storage unit as a special permit use within the VCBD district. And then the criteria that would have to be met for the special use permit, it would be the portion of the existing building dedicated to personal storage shall not exceed 5 units or 1,200 square feet of floor area. And as I've noted there, that's based on research. The average storage unit is about 12 feet by 20 feet, which would equal 240 square feet. So if we took 5 of those, that's where the 1,200 square feet came up from. And then the personal storage units would only be provided with within the existing building footprint. No addition shall be made to the building for personal storage units. So they would be maintained in the rear of the building, like we had discussed, where there might be some open floor area. And the personal storage unit shall be located and accessed in the rear of the building and shall not be visible from Main Street. So I don't know if anyone has any comments on the number of units or the size. We didn't specifically get into all of those details. We talked about them more general last time. And I was going to do some research, and this was what I found. Does anyone have anything? If not, we can send the recommendations to the village board. I can draft these in the form to send them.
Tom, do you have anything to say at this time? You're the one that sort of brought it up.
I'm fine with this.
You're all right with it?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Do any members of the board have any comments at this time?
Hans, this is Steve. Just a question is, how are we defining a personal storage unit?
So it would be defined as a portion of existing floor area in a commercial building that is a portion of existing floor area that is leased in an existing commercial building for use as an area to stow personal items. So we wouldn't be adding or building any new space. This would be for existing structures in that district to allow in the rear some storage area for people.
Okay, so this would be a commercial enterprise that would use some existing space limited to 5 units or 1,200 square feet.
Right, whichever.
For either rental or whatever to individuals for purposes of storage.
Correct. And I believe some of the building owners have expressed that they would like to be able to have storage in the rear that isn't visible from Main Street, but to be able to lease some of that space for storage use.
Okay, thank you, Sarah.
You're welcome.
Any other comments from any board member?
This is Teresa. I have no comments.
Raylene, no comment.
Suzanne, no comment.
Well, I think there's point the attorney there, Martha. I find it very interesting that the media is in a crisis over story about
Okay, then, I'll entertain a motion that we send our comments to, the village board at this time.
We're getting feedback from someone. Raylene, do you have the TV or the computer on?
Is this too loud?
That's better.
Okay, could I'll entertain a motion that we send the recommendation to the village board then.
Hans, this is Steve. I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
This is Teresa. I'll second it.
I have a motion, a second. All in favor? Do I have a roll call vote on that, please?
Oh,
Hans,
Yes.
Teresa,
yes.
Raylene,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Suzanne,
Yes.
that's carried.
Okay, so I will draft this up and send it on to the village board.
Okay. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is Red Line Diner, 588 Route 9, outdoor deck, preliminary discussion. Would the applicant identify yourself for the record, please?
Joseph Berger, engineer for the Red Line Diner.
And describe what you would like to do, sir.
Yes, Red Line Diner is proposing to construct a steel patio for the outside on the south side of the existing restaurant. Along with the diner, with the patio will be a concrete walk on the south side to allow people to walk from one side along the road. In addition, it's been clear we need some additional spaces. So we're looking to rearrange the parking lot to gain additional 11 spaces, and we're doing that. Should I share my plan on the screen at this point, or?
Yes.
Okay. See if I can figure out how to do that. So I just hit share screen.
Hit share screen.
Okay. I want to call it my screen. Let's see if that works. Okay. And there. Does everybody see that?
No.
No? Oh, okay. It said it was there. Oh, I got to hit share again. Maybe that. Now, does that work?
Working, yeah.
Everybody has that?
There you go.
This is the, everybody see the mouse as I circle this?
We can't see your mouse. If you go to view options and then scroll down to annotate.
Okay. Yeah, close that off first before I do that. So my screen took over my Zoom, so I can't see it. Well, I'll just describe it. Everybody's in the description there, you see existing building. That's the diner on the north. And we're proposing the patio, which is just south of it, which will have 11 tables outside, and it'll be a raised steel deck patio. And in order to do that, we are proposing to narrow down the 24-foot road to 20 feet so we could construct a 4-foot walk, concrete walk that would go from east to west, allowing pedestrians. The walk will be below or lower than the deck, so they won't be looking at the seats. The people will be on a raised patio with a wall. Now, in order to gain some additional parking, we're proposing to take the parking lot that's in the south where the retail plaza and to shift the parking to the east, which only requires about 700 square feet of additional paving to be paved, which would be a small section along the west side of the parking lot by Route 9. And you can see that's, maybe if I zoom in, do you see me zooming in? Right where the 11 is, that's the area where just a small 2-foot wide section, the length of the parking lot needs to be extended to make a full parking. Now, the question from the village engineer was relevant to drainage. Where will the water go? Currently, the stormwater goes into catch basins. On the south portion of the parking lot, the stormwater goes to a catch basin that's right in the middle of the parking lot. It'll continue to go there. By the Red Line Diner itself in the patio, the water goes to the west to a catch basin on the corner of the parking lot. The water will continue to drain in that same location. We feel the 700 square feet based on this entire site is de minimis and will not cause any increase in peak or volume based on that small amount. And we're not changing the drainage patterns other than adding some small portion of blacktop. One of the concerns of the village engineer was to make the driveway going between the Red Line Diner and the retail one way. We would have no problem with that as long as it's going from west to east. So cars coming from Route 9 could come into the site, split north or south into either plaza, or go straight through between the two buildings to the rear parking lots and then exit out onto the back road, which they currently do now. As everybody's aware, I'm sure, the plaza only allows entrance from Route 9 and exit on the rear connector road currently. So that path would maintain that flow. So we would have no problem in changing that to a one-way. And that's, I'm here to answer any questions if anyone has.
So, what are your comments?
Okay. Yeah, I just had a few questions about the impervious surface. It looks like you're probably going to need a few variances to do this.
Okay.
So as the board may recall, both properties had received lot coverage variances as part of their original proposals. And it looks like this is probably increasing some of that because, Joe, you're proposing, I think, 11 parking spaces over on the retail site.
Yes, but only, they're still going to be, we're only adding 700 square feet of impervious. Most of the parking is just being proposed where the current parking is. We're just shifting it. We're removing,
Okay.
we're basically removing that large walk that's along the west side of the retail building and make it a smaller, more manageable 5-foot walk. That's just a large area of concrete right now. So by
Okay.
shifting the parking lot east, we really, and we could actually even reduce that 700 feet more if we needed to. We just thought in our layout, we wanted to keep the maximum separation between the aisles.
Okay, so, but you are increasing the impervious area slightly then?
Yes, 700
Okay.
square feet.
Okay, so we would need to then, you would need a variance to do that because they were already granted a variance. I don't, the lot coverage calculation wasn't on there. So we're gonna need to know that information so we know what the variance will be.
Okay.
So the other question that I had on the retail office side, not the diner site, but the retail site, they also were granted a variance to allow greater than 50% of the front yard to be used for driveway and off-street parking. So are the 11 spaces, that's where the 700 square feet addition is?
Yes.
Okay, so that variance will also, would have to be increased.
Okay.
The other question that I had, the parking spaces that you're making up on the diner site, the 6 spaces,
Yes.
they're going to be put in areas where there's existing landscaping now.
Yes.
Do you know, I mean, and this is up to the board, but in the past we have allowed, and I think when the diner was originally constructed, they had land bank parking out there that was then constructed. But if those spaces, if the applicant doesn't feel that those 6 spaces are needed and they're really just trying to make up those spaces that are being taken away, we could consider keeping those as landscaped islands and being land banked and constructed if needed. I don't know if anyone has any thoughts about that, but there's existing shrubs and trees out there for the parking lot that could actually be preserved if those parking spaces, if the applicant feels that they're not really needed now, and we could land bank them so you would be meeting your parking requirement, but not actually taking out the landscaping at this time.
I think my client does want them. He feels, especially in this time where they're getting more curbside pickup, and that the additional parking will help them. But
Okay.
whatever, we're obviously here to ask for input from the board on how the board feels on that, but my client does feel that would help his business more.
Okay, so if that is the case and they are constructed at this time, I mean, we do need to consider that in the impervious surface calculation because it will be an addition.
Well, it was, that's part of the 700 square feet.
Oh,
That is-
that's part of the
That's
700.
part, yeah, now all of the 700 is in, along the 11. The 700 is the total increase for both, the entire site.
For the entire site, both lots.
Yes, because we're
Okay.
actually, not only are we adding some blacktop, we're actually taking some away. That was, there was a big island in the middle that was a blacktop that we're turning back into. So we're adding some landscaped areas, just not
Okay.
enough, just not enough to offset the 700 square feet.
Okay, so part of what we're going to need to know is the amount of impervious surface on each lot, because they actually are two separate parcels that receive separate site plan approvals.
Okay.
So we're going to need them both. I know it's the same owner, but they did actually subdivide those two lots.
Yes,
And they both have their own site plan. So they're both going to be amended site plans. And then we'll need to know what the impervious surface increase is on both lots.
okay, so I'll just create a table that breaks it up into the two lots, no problem.
Yeah, that will
Have
help.
that already, we just combine them for ease. Okay.
Okay. And then the only other question I had, if they did decide to construct those spaces, do you think the existing trees and shrubs that are established out there could be moved to other green areas, maybe back along George Carter Lane
Sure, we could find a spot for them, sure.
to preserve some of that?
Yeah, I'm sure we could do that, but we were planning on putting some of it in the newly created landscape we had, but there's areas we can add, yes. We can
I just
move
wanted
and
to-
preserve, yes.
I would just like to see it preserved for the
Okay.
site.
I
Because
could
they're-
show that on the plan where we can move and preserve them. Okay,
Okay, that would be great. And then the only other correction I had, Victoria and I had more discussion about the seeker on this, and it will actually be a type 2 action under seeker. So there's nothing further that we need to do with that because it is less than 4,000 square feet.
I thought so, but I didn't want to make that call.
No, it's okay. Every once in a while, the planner has a mistake. Those are all the comments that I had.
Larry, what are your comments? Engineering.
Okay, well, Joe kind of touched on them, and I think Joe and I are on the same page with everything here. Joe, just in a future submission, if you wouldn't mind, just maybe put a brief narrative together, just relative to what you kind of described, that the drainage patterns will basically remain the same. It'll be collected and will be discharged to the existing stormwater basin in the back, or the drainage swale out in the front, and just make some general comment relative to the conditions and the capacities. Maybe
Okay.
just reference your prior reports.
Okay, no
And,
problem.
and that would be good, just so we know we've all looked at it and we all agree.
Will do, no problem.
And relative to the one-way, that's awesome that you guys are in agreement with that. That really, was a bit of a concern, just seeing the traffic going by,
Mhm.
the pedestrian and seating area. Would they also be willing to install a couple bollards along the curb line there, just to protect the pedestrian and traffic there?
Since we're making it one way, I don't see why we shouldn't be able to, sure.
Yeah, I think there would be room in there. Okay,
Yeah.
good. And then the last thing, just some reporting requirements that,
Yeah. I saw that. I did not realize they had not been submitted. I will talk to my client about getting caught up to date.
yeah, and the backflow, I think the diner might have a testable double check.
Yes, I will check with them and we will get all of our reports up to date.
Awesome. That's it, Hans, nice and easy.
Okay, Victoria, do you have any comments?
I do have a question. The parking's gonna be on a different parcel in the same ownership, right?
Yes.
So are we going to require as a board that they grant themselves an easement at this point? Because they could sell one lot or the other? That would be my recommendation. If the parking is for the diner parcel, for the offset for the new patio, that there should be some kind of easement
Now,
allowing
actually,
that.
The 11 new spaces on the retail are actually for, to help that retail space, which is hurting. The 6 spaces within the diner are for the diner.
Okay. I didn't understand that then.
Yeah, I did not explain that properly, sorry. I think of it as one project, but when we picked up the additional spaces for the retail, that mall was also in need of a little bit help. So we figured we'd work together on the one project. The 6 spaces on the diner were the ones that my client felt would help them with the diner.
Okay, then my comment's satisfied.
And I can put that in the narrative that we're doing for the engineer. I can clarify that as well. And since we're going to break up the impervious and everything into 2 lots, I'll put that down as well, the number for each one separately.
That would be helpful.
I was considered this one project. That was my mistake.
I know. You know we have to look at everything by property lines, though.
I'm aware of that. My bad.
Oh, okay, then, Tom, do you have any comments?
You know.
Do not. Does any board member have any comments at this time?
Hi, it's Teresa, board member. Just can I look at the drawing again? And if you can get rid of some of your toolbars, that might help, because that was really small.
Let's see what I can do.
Thank you. Just a quick, I'm sorry, it was very small. Because that the drawing you're showing isn't one of the ones we received.
Well, it is. It's one. It's just in color.
Well, okay.
This is the AutoCAD, but it is the drawing you received. It's sheet number 4.
4.
I have it drawn in color for me. I thought you would like it in color.
Color would have been
You have
nice.
to press share screen
Okay, how do I? Let's see. I have to do
on the
that.
bottom.
Yep, have to get back to the Zoom and share screen, share,
There we go.
and let's see if that works now. So that, everybody see that now?
We see it, yes.
Okay.
What portion would you like to see? There's the
Just-
patio.
oh, yeah, so that, me pointing to it doesn't help, does it? So yeah, just
So
try.
you can annotate yourself if you have questions. If you go up to the bar where it says you are viewing Joe Berger's screen,
View options.
view
Okay.
options, then
Okay.
go to annotate. You can
Yeah.
point to things.
So this is the new seating.
Yeah.
And where did you say the parking was going? These parking spaces are moving to where? Over here?
Parking spaces, when these are the new parking spaces, the 11 that's colored in red.
Oh, okay.
Those are the new spaces. We're
Oh, okay.
The 24 that's in magenta was shifted to the right
I see.
and then creating the 11. Right now, there's a curb line along that.
Mhm.
You'll remember there's a curb line.
Yeah.
We're just extending it to the right
Okay.
and we're adding. Now, the parking spaces for the diner are over in here, the 2, 2, and 2.
Okay, okay,
Those are done by reclaiming some of the landscaping and just restriping.
okay. I
And we're
tell you.
keeping 2 right there. But there's plenty of areas in the back and along the side where we can save that landscaping and move it.
Okay,
Now, we are reclaiming one big area, which is nice. Right here in the front, where you see I'm gonna zoom in even bigger. It's called the island right there at the entrance. That was previously concrete. We're gonna rip that up and make that a landscape island.
okay.
So that's right as you come in, you're gonna see a beautiful landscape island instead of a pile of concrete that's there now.
Okay,
So we felt that would be a nice enhancement to the site as you come in off Route 9, see some flowers and
yeah.
some
Maybe
stuff.
we'll slow
Versus
people
right
down.
now, it's just dirt laying on top of concrete.
Okay, thank you.
I just don't know why it was there, but that's what it was.
Hey, Joe, while you have that drawing, would you mind just showing them what you're planning on doing with the converting the 2-way to 1-way? So they can
Where you see the double arrows right there, right where the 2 is with the magenta, there's double lanes. That will just come 1 lane. And right where, if we look at where it says proposed concrete sidewalk, we will install bollards, as the village engineer has suggested, and I agree, to protect the 4-foot walk from the cars. So now cars will go from west to east through the site coming off Route 9, and they'll have basically 19, 18 feet, because the 20 feet will lose about 2 feet for the bollards, about maybe 1 foot for the bollards, but I think I want to be safe and say we have 18 feet for the
For the one-way.
for people to drive through, and we'll put. I'll change this to arrows in one direction only, with a one-way do not enter sign on the other side.
Right, so
Joe,
you
sorry.
because, let me get my little annotate back. Because then here you'd have to put some kind of, oh, no, you wouldn't, because people can go around, never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People, as they come in, can turn left or right, north or
Yeah.
south into the two separate parking lots as they need. If they're going to the bank, they continue around. If they are going to the rear parking lots, they travel through. They go north or south into the rear parking lots, as they do now. And as everybody leaves, they drive easterly to the back connector road and go north or south out back to Route 9. 'Cause
Okay,
we can't go onto Route 9 from the site anyways, just slip in.
right, okay,
So that one way makes a lot of sense, and there's really not hurting anything. People coming from the connector road west through that double road, very few people use it. Matter of fact, it's closed right now temporary for the temporary seating, and it hasn't caused any issues.
okay.
So that's our proof right there. We have anecdotal proof that closing it for the last couple of months hasn't affected the path. And we're actually going to improve it from what it is now by providing a west to east flow, which would allow people to either go to the westerly front parking lots or to the rear back parking lots.
Joe, Tom Vantine, go back to the deck for a second. Are
Yes.
you proposing to cover that deck at all?
I believe there will be a cover. I'll verify that. And
Okay.
we need to get you information on that. Yes.
You know that, but also, what do you anticipate doing as far as water runoff and ice runoff in the wintertime?
It will come, it'll drain down across the sidewalk onto the driveway. And then from there, it's grading, just as it does now, it flows westerly to a catch basin. That is, I'll just zoom into where that catch basin is. It goes to this catch basin right here. That's where it currently drains.
But right now, you have it coming down a roof drain, obviously, into the catch basin. We're going to have a free flow off a cover going onto either the walkway or the driveway.
Okay. Okay.
And my concern is in the wintertime when it freezes.
Yeah, let me think on that. Maybe we could collect it and do something. I'll work with you on that. Well, that's a very good concern. I can't give you an exact answer, but we'll solve that problem. How's that?
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Joe, it's Victoria speaking.
Yeah.
The site plan that we got was fuzzy. When the copy was a little bit fuzzy.
I wonder why. Okay.
I mean, I can show you, but
Yeah, I know. Okay.
the digital copy I received.
Yeah.
So can you just go over the parking? Is there adequate parking on both lots now?
Yeah, the current parking meets code. We're just asking for a few more. For realistic, we need a little bit more, but it meets the code. Yes.
Even with the additional seats?
With the additional seats. Well, we don't think, yeah.
Well, something to think about for the.
Yeah, I'll look at that. I think what we're not planning on having everything inside. This is more outside where people will sit. But I understand the question and I'll address it. Yes.
Thank you.
I have a question. This is Suzanne, board member. Will there, I see steps on the plan for the deck. Is there actually going to be some type of ramp as well for wheelchair accessible besides just going inside the building, coming out, or?
That's the only way. You'll go into the building and out through it to come so we don't lose. All we have is steps from the outside. But we feel we'll allow just as it does now, the ramp up into the building and out through the one doorway.
Okay.
That's our proposal.
Yeah. Will there also be one other question? Is there going to be any permanent light fixtures in the future to be there, or is it just going to be like outdoor lighting, street lighting, lighting?
Just a street line. There's no proposed right now, but I'll verify with my client.
Okay, thank you.
Let me write that down so I do not forget it. Verify lighting. Okay. And the drainage. Okay. And parking.
Joe, as far as the cover goes over that, is that, considering this is basically seasonal outdoor sitting, would this be like a canvas cover? or are you throwing a hard cover, sort of a metal or a roof type cover on this?
I will verify. I think it's going, I'm not, I don't want to, exactly. I thought it was going to be cloth, but I will verify with the client and get the information over to you if possible.
Okay. Does any other board member have any comments or questions? No?
No comment. This is Suzanne.
Yes,
No comment, Raylene.
I have no comments. This is Steve.
Okay.
I have no comment. It's Teresa.
Okay, no further comments then. You gonna have everything ready for next month's meeting, or
That's my plan. I do have a question for the planner, if I may.
go ahead?
Sure.
If we, one of the things we did, and I'm not sure we need it, was extending the parking impervious where I showed 11. I don't know if I really need that. I could probably squeeze that in to get rid of that. That would get rid of the impervious variance, but would the variance for, you said there was also a variance because the parking is in that location?
Yeah, so
Okay.
what we have, so the impervious calculations, and I can tell you from their previous site plan approval what they were granted as their impervious variance. I don't have that in front of me, but I can get that to you.
Okay, thank you.
We also, there's also in the code that if greater than 50% of the front yard is to be used for driveway and off-street parking,
Okay,
they need a variance for that. They did receive a variance for that as well. I don't know the exact number.
74.8%.
Oh, well, there you go. Victoria.
On his plan.
but if I don't
Oh.
increase that paving there and I keep the current curb line the same, just restripe it for parking, would that not need a variance at that point?
Correct,
Okay.
because they have approved parking right now and improved impervious surface. So if
So the
you
two
can stay,
variants- Okay, gotcha.
if you can stay within that, then we do not need variances.
Okay. So that's something for me to look at if I can get rid of that impervious, which will help the job altogether too.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I will look at that and I will certainly be able to get the EVI change and all the additional information back for next month.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, so we'll see you next month then.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is Wellesley Center, 953 to 961 Main Street. Plan review. At this time, I'll read a little memo here. Thank you, everyone, for attending tonight's meeting. As you know, this board held a public comment session on seeker impact on our July 23rd, 2020 Planning Board meeting and accepted written comments until the close of business on July 28th. The board has considered everyone's comments as well as the materials provided by the applicant. There will be no opportunity for public comment this evening. As the project moves through the review process, we will need to schedule a public hearing on the site plan. The zoning board will need to schedule a hearing on requested variance, and the village board will need to schedule a hearing on the proposed zoning amendments. All hearings will be publicly noticed. Thank you very much. Will the applicant please come on board?
While we're waiting for the applicant to get up, I have disabled the group chat comments. This is not a public hearing. If there's any questions, you're allowed to send comments to me about the meeting or you're having technical problems. But these comments are, we're creating a record and this is not, these group chat comments are not part of the record. So they've been disabled.
Okay. Is the applicant?
Neil's here. There we go.
I was waiting my turn. Sorry. I apologize for not jumping in sooner. I guess a little bit of the delay. So anyway, good evening. For the record, my name is Neil Alexander. I'm a partner at Cuddy and Fader here on behalf of the applicant. As you synopsized, Chairman, we were last before you on July 23rd. We made a technical response to your consultant's comments, which was submitted on August 6th. We also, on August 17th, made a more thematic response to various comments from the public back from our July 23rd appearance. And we are hoping for the conclusion of the seeker process with the adoption of a negative declaration. The team is with me as always. Joe Modafferi from JMC Engineering is here for any technical comments, as is Bill Brothers and his team, and Reverend Pankey and various others. So with that said, we do not have a presentation prepared for this evening. We believe we are at the end of the seeker process and look forward to concluding that hopefully this evening. And as you noted, moving on to the next steps of review, which are several still.
So, Mr. Alexander, you did submit a comment letter responding to the public comments received during our seeker public comment session. Do you want to walk everyone through your responses?
That hadn't been our plan. I mean, we can generally hit them. What we really did was we took so back on, let me just go through a couple different things here. So back on May 13th, when we had talked about this during the July 23rd appearance, we had provided an amplified EAF that also went through, again, when we submitted on August 6th, the remaining of the technical comments. When we submitted on August 17th, we went through things thematically. So for example, we talked about the fact that traffic had been raised as a concern. And in the course of traffic being raised as a concern, in our thematic response, we pointed out that there were 4 or 5 iterations of the traffic report that we had submitted, that the iterations were based on comments from the village's traffic consultant, and also from input from DOT. The most important salient part on the traffic theme is that the DOT, who has jurisdiction over Route 52, has issued conceptual approval for the proposed project and the proposed mitigation measures, and including the closing of one of the existing curb cuts. We walked through also and clarified that relative to daycare, that there had been actually the Children's Ark on that site. And we hadn't talked about this before, but as a result of the public comment, we thought it was salient to bring up that the Children's Ark had operated on the site. At that time, there were over 8 employees and 50 children. Part of the reason why the Children's Ark closed was the inability of the existing structure to meet New York State daycare licensing requirements without significant costly and uneconomical improvements. So that use had previously existed, and it is considered, very often and commonly an accessory use to most religious organizations. We talked about the height of the senior living community and the visibility from the surrounding areas. I think something that got lost along the way relative to that issue that we tried to draw out in our response was that the building is U-shaped, and the wings, which are on the outer sides, are actually 3 stories and have a peak roof. It's only the central portion which has the mansard roof, which goes to 4 stories. And the peak of the 3 stories actually blocks and is consistent with and flush with the 4th story in the middle. And somehow I think that got lost. So we try to draw that out in our response on that subject. And then we recognized and issued a separate letter, as well as noting in this that we hadn't made it extremely clear that while this project is inclusionary in the fact that it's a 62 and over project, which is, as everyone knows, under the Fair Housing Law, it is one of the exceptions to the HOPA amendments, Housing of Older Persons Act, which allows you to essentially segregate out a community, which is the older persons, from general marketing, which is otherwise, verboten. So that 62 and over is one of the classes that allows you to, essentially it's an understood exception to the fair housing, and that this inclusionary project ultimately was going to be 10% of the units would be for seniors. And those 10% of the units for seniors, let me restate that again. 10% of the 100% of units that are for seniors are going to also have a control as to the household income, and it'll be set for no more than 80% of Dutchess County area median income. So it's the affordability component affects 10% of the units. It's not open to anybody. It's open to those who make 80% of AMI and who would otherwise qualify as 62 and over. I think that was really the essence of what we went through. The last part was to clarify that the senior living community component of the project will be assessed and on the tax rolls. Did I freeze? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Do the board members have any questions for the applicant?
Just to clarify, the units, all the units will have to be, the occupants will have to be 62 or older, correct?
You're muted.
Yeah, Victoria had me locked there. Sorry. I guess that's one way to gag me. In any event, sorry, I got confused there. So the legislation tracks the exception. So I'm going to get really wonky, Chairman. Essentially, the answer is yes. There's some technicalities that deal with a spouse, where the qualifying person over 62 dies and the spouse is under 62, where there's a caretaker, like a home health assistant. So, and that's written in the legislation. I don't want to get that, unless you really want me to, I can get that wonky. But so the essence of your question is yes, but there's some technicalities for hardship situations like I was just alluding to.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that point, because there were some rumors going around that there were only 10% was for seniors being 62 and over, and the rest of the apartments would be for anybody that could walk in off the street. So I just wanted to make sure and clarify that all the apartments would be for 62 and older, along with what you just described.
That is correct. 100% of the units are for 62 and over. 10% of the units have the affordability component, but again, it's not universal. You have to be a senior first. That's the first screen, so to speak. And then to get into one of those 10% affordable units, you'd have to meet the income requirements, which is 80% AMI.
Okay. Does any other board member have any comments or questions at this time?
Draylene, no, I don't have a comment.
Hi, it's Teresa. I may have missed this, so I apologize. So are they going to be rentals, or are they going to be condo type units?
They're going to be rental units.
Okay.
Steve, do you have any comments?
Not at this time, Chairman, I do not.
Suzanne?
No, I do not have a comment, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Victoria, do you want to go on into the environmental assessment form, part 2?
Sure, let's pull it up. Okay, this is part 2 of the form. Do you want me to walk you through it, Hans, or do you want to do it?
Walk us through, would you please?
Okay, so this is the part 2 of the full environmental assessment form. This helps you as the lead agency decide whether or not a potential impact is worthy of further discussion. So you have to identify whether there's a potential impact, and then if there is, whether it's small or moderate to large. So the first question that I asked you to look at is impact on land. And this has been filled out with suggested answers and circulated to everyone. But you know, this is your document. So tonight, as we talk through it, we can change any of these questions as you see fit. So impact on land. Proposed action may involve construction on or physical alteration of the land surface of the proposed site. I mean, yes, this is a redevelopment project. It's clicked yes. And then all the sub questions are clicked no or small impact. So may involve construction on a water table less than 3 feet, may involve construction on slopes, construction on land where bedrock's exposed, more than 1,000 tons of material, etc. So all of those are identified as a no or a small impact. If you don't have any changes, anyone, then we'll move on to part 2. So just speak up if you want to.
Victoria, this is Steve. Just a general question.
Sure.
You said these are suggested answers subject to discussion tonight. So thank you for clarifying that. How were the suggested answers determined for, let's just stick with the very first section, impact on land. Pick any one of them. How did we determine that any one of those A through G, the correct answer is no or small impact?
So this was prepared by the consultants and reviewed by the engineer. Larry,
if you want
this, so you can.
Yeah, Steve, maybe I can just give you an example. For example, let's take the first 2. You have depth to water less than 3 feet, and proposed action will involve construction on slopes greater than 15%. Well, they've demonstrated they don't have slopes greater than 15%, and they've done soil testings that are depicting the groundwater down at about 6 feet. So it's based on information that they've submitted to date. It doesn't necessarily mean that their design is complete and acceptable. It just means that whatever these descriptions are here, they've demonstrated that they can, not necessarily have already, but that they can either avoid an impact associated with those items, or they can mitigate it to a point where it would be insignificant. Does that make sense?
Okay, it does. And you've had the opportunity either through observation, field observation, or discussion with those that have drawn these conclusions, so that you're satisfied in helping the board concur with what these suggested answers are.
Well, it goes a little bit further than that even, Steve, but yet the answer to that is yes. But in addition, there's also been preliminary drainage reports, the preliminary SWIP, and when I say preliminary, very detailed. The only reason I say preliminary is because they still need to finalize designs. And there's also been drawings, relatively detailed drawings, which I'm sure you've seen some, that have demonstrated. For example, one of the questions we'll get to later is floodplain. One of the requirements that we have in the village, we imposed it on Jackson Crossing, is that if they're going to fill any area within the floodplain, they've got to provide compensatory flood storage area. So there's been enough substantial design information in addition to discussions and observations where we feel comfortable in advising the board, again, that they can, not that they have yet, but that they can either avoid or mitigate.
Okay, thanks, Larry. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Okay, so Steve, are you comfortable with all of the answers in question 1?
Yes, based on the description of the process and the observation and interaction that Larry just presented, yes. I just wanted to make sure that I had a complete understanding of the process that has come to bear so far. And so I'm fine, thanks.
I can add that a little bit too. This is Sarah, the village planner. Larry has looked at the engineering aspects. We have also looked at the planning aspects, and Victoria has also looked at the legal aspects of this. This document was not created by the applicant. It was actually created by us as the consultants for the village. So that just gives you another layer of what went into this.
Okay, thanks, Sarah.
Okay. So number 2, impact on geological features. The question asked the board to consider whether the action would result in modification, destruction, or inhibit access to any unique or unusual landforms. This is checked no, as there, to the best of our knowledge, there are none on the property. 3, impacts on surface water. The proposed action may affect one or more wetlands or other surface water bodies, streams, rivers, ponds, lakes. Again, this is checked no, as there are no surface water bodies on the property. Okay, question 4 asks the board to consider whether the action would result in new or additional use of groundwater or have the potential to introduce contaminants into groundwater or aquifer. It's checked yes, because there will be an additional demand on groundwater from the additional residents who are using the village water supply. And in addition, it has the potential for runoff, etc. So then there are a series of questions after the yes for the board to consider. Will the proposed action require new water supply wells or create additional demand from existing supply wells? We've recommended no or small impact. Water supply demand from proposed action may exceed safe and sustainable withdrawal capacity of the local supply. No or small impact. The village has indicated that they can adequately serve the project. May allow or result in residential uses in area without water or sewer. No. May include or require wastewater discharge to groundwater. No or small. May result in construction of water supply wells. No. May require bulk storage of petroleum or chemical products over groundwater or an aquifer. No. May involve commercial application of pesticides. No. The next question has to do with impact on flooding. A portion of the property is located within a floodplain. So this is checked yes. The proposed action may result in development in a designated floodway. No or small impact. May result in development within a 100-year floodplain, 500-year floodplain, modification of existing drainage, may change floodwater, and a dam. There's no dam. Larry, do you want to comment on this section and explain how these answers came about?
Well, actually, I'm going to kind of repeat myself. It's this is specifically where I was talking about earlier that there is some flood elevation. It's shallow basically along the westerly and northerly portions of the site, and there's going to be some fill within those areas. The applicant has calculated the volume of flood storage that would be displaced by this fill, and they're providing underground storage to compensate for that volume, very similar to what we required for Jackson Crossing. They've submitted the detailed calculations, and we've reviewed them and have agreed with them.
Okay. So does any board member have a question on these answers? Okay.
Straley, no.
Okay. All right, moving on to 6, impacts on air. There's not a state-regulated air emission source proposed, so that's checked no. 7, impacts on plants and animals. It's checked yes. The state has identified that there's a proposed endangered species in the vicinity. It's a bat. So then the questions are, may cause reduction in population or loss of any individual threatened or endangered species, may result in reduction or degradation of any habitat, may cause reduction in population or loss of any species of concern, may result in reduction or degradation of any habitat used by the species, may result in removal or ground disturbance of a significant natural community, interfere with nesting, breeding, foraging, requires conversion of 10 acres of forest. That's not the case here. Sarah, do you want to comment on why these are all checked no?
Yes, so we did receive, or the applicant received a letter from DEC concerning the endangered species that could potentially be in the area. And the recommendation from DEC was that any tree cutting be limited to certain months between October and March. So the applicant has agreed to that, and that will be a requirement of any approval that would ever be granted on this. So therefore, that would mitigate any potential impact that there could be to flora or fauna on the site.
Do any of the board's members have questions? If not, I'll move on to question 8. Impact on agricultural resources. There are none in the vicinity. 9, impact on aesthetic resources. It asks whether the land use of the proposed action are obviously different from or are in sharp contrast to current land use patterns between the proposed project and a scenic or aesthetic resource. No scenic or aesthetic resources were identified in the vicinity of this project. That's usually meant to be like, you know, something that the public comes to view. We'll move on. Number 10, impact on historic and archaeological resources. This is checked yes, because we are in the vicinity of a historic resource. Sarah, do you want to comment on this one?
Yeah, I was just bringing up the section. The applicant did reach out to the New York State Office of Historic Preservation, and they issued a letter on February 3rd, 2020, which concluded the following. Based upon the review, it is the opinion of the Office of Parks and Historic Preservation that no properties, including archaeologic and/or historic resources listed in or eligible for New York State and National Registers of Historic Places will be impacted by this project. So it has been reviewed by the state, and none there were no impacts identified.
Thank you. If no questions, I'll move on to 11, impact on.
So does that mean we change that, this Teresa, change that to a no from number 10?
No, it was
No.
in the area
Because I got it. Yep.
of archaeologically sensitive resources, but this particular site is not one that they're concerned about.
Okay.
Okay, impact on open space and recreation. This is not an open space area. Impact on critical environmental area. This is not a designated critical environmental area. Impact on transportation systems. The proposed action may result in a change to existing transportation systems. So the applicant has prepared a traffic and parking study to assess the existing conditions and future traffic and build out. Sarah, comment on your firm's review of that study?
Yes, I can. We did do a review of the initial traffic report. We had asked for some additional information, and just so the board is aware, all of the traffic counts that were done for the study were done prior to the pandemic. So it was under normal traffic conditions. And that is when the peak amounts of traffic were noted. It wasn't during the pandemic. We did have some comments for the applicant. They were able to address them. And we do not anticipate any adverse impacts from this development. The other thing that I wanted to add is that the New York State Department of Transportation has also reviewed the project and has given conceptual approval to it. And that was in a letter dated July 14, 2020.
Thank you. So if no changes from the board, I'll move on to item 14, impact on energy. Proposed action may cause an increase in the use of any form of energy. The answer there is yes. There will be new demand, but that demand does not rise to the level of a moderate or large impact. It doesn't require a new substation. It won't serve a commercial or industrial use, etc. Number 15, impact on noise, odor, and light. The proposed action may result in an increase in noise, odors, or outdoor lighting. The answer is yes. There will be an increase. But the applicant has prepared a noise study showing that they are compliant with village standards, and they've also proposed a sound attenuation wall around the fuel cell to help mitigate noise impacts. And lights are going to be shielded so that there's no off-site impacts from the lights. Sarah, did I miss anything there?
No.
Okay.
You got all the
16.
highlights.
Yeah, we're going through the highlight reel. Impact on human health. The proposed action may have an impact on human health from exposure to new or existing sources of contaminants. No. 17, consistency with community plans. This asks whether the proposed action is not consistent with adopted land use plans. The answer there is yes, because this does require a change to the village zoning law. The applicants have asked for a zoning text amendment. But then going through the impacts from that text amendment, the impacts are small. What they've asked for is to rezone this parcel as VCBD. It's adjacent to the VCB district, so this is sort of a natural extension of that district. And the property is already not in residential use. It's already being used or has been used for a daycare and a church. So it's consistent with the existing pattern of growth in the area and on the property. So it asks, the proposed actions land use components may be different from or in sharp contrast to current surrounding land use patterns. We thought this was a no because it's consistent with current land use patterns, but again, it's the board's decision. Proposed action will cause permanent population of the city, town, or village in which the project is located to grow by more than 5%. No. It's inconsistent with local land use plans or zoning regulations. Again, small impact. Inconsistent with county plans or other regional land use plans. No. May cause a change in the density of development that's not supported by existing infrastructure. No, it's served by water sewer. In an area characterized by low density development. No, it's in a dense village. And proposed action may induce secondary development impacts. No, or small. Do any of the board members have any discussion on item 17? Okay, go to 18. Consistency with community character. The proposed project is inconsistent with the existing community character. We've checked no, meaning that it would be consistent with the current pattern of growth and character of the village. So that's part 2. So I'm going to pull up the notice of NAEC for a moment so we can go through that. Let's see. Okay, so this document, we went through the highlight reel when we went through part 2 of the EAF. This would be the negative declaration. This goes through each of the items that we just discussed. Alteration to land, alteration to surface water, groundwater, and it goes into detail and it provides the detailed evaluation under each of those points, supporting the answers in part 2 of the EAF. All the board members have received copies of this previously, and you were all able to review it prior to the meeting. So I don't think we need to read it word for word. It's very long. You all have it. It'll be part of the record unless there's anything you want to discuss or any changes you want to make to it.
Victoria Hans, I've read this document here 2 or 3 times now. It's been revised for Larry and Sarah, and I think all the bases are covered, and I feel very comfortable with the document.
Okay.
Any other board members have comments this time?
Raylene, no.
Hi, it's Teresa. I do not.
Hi, it's Suzanne, and I have no comment.
Steve?
This is Steve. I have no further questions or comments.
Okay, then. What's our next step, Victoria?
So then we have prepared a resolution adopting a determination of significance, a negative declaration. This is the resolution. It goes through the whereas clauses. It identifies the project. It states that you've reviewed the EAF, the application materials, you've thoroughly analyzed everything that's been presented to you, including all of the public comments that you received on July 23rd and afterwards in writing. And it says, now therefore be it resolved that for the reasons set forth on the attached notice of determination, the planning board adopts a negative declaration for the project, finding that the project as proposed will not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts, and that a draft environmental impact statement will not be prepared, and to send notice of the negative declaration to all involved and interested agencies. Be it further resolved that the secretary of the planning board is directed to publish notice in the environmental notice bulletin and to make all other filings required by law. So you would need a motion to adopt.
Any questions at this time?
Hans, it's Teresa. I do not.
Raylene, I do not.
Suzanne, I do not have any further questions.
This is Steve. I have no questions.
I left somebody out here. I'm sorry about it. Tom, did you have any comments at all during this whole procedure? Tom?
I'm sorry, you hung up on me.
No.
Repeat that?
Tom, I'm sorry I left you out before. Did you have any comments or
I
questions?
do not.
Tom,
I do not.
you do not?
No.
You're satisfied then?
I am, yes.
Okay. That being said, I'll entertain a motion that we adopt the negative deck on this project. Do I have a motion?
Hi, Hans, it's Teresa. I move to accept the resolution for adopting a negative declaration for the Wesley Center site.
Do I have a second?
I second Hans, Suzanne Spezialy.
I have a motion and a second on the floor. Will the secretary take a roll call ballot, please?
Hans,
Yes.
Teresa,
Yes.
Raylene,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Suzanne.
Yes.
Carried.
Okay. This phase of this project is comes to a close. The next phase would be they would have to go before the village board, is that correct, Victoria?
Yes, they need approvals from the zoning board of appeals and the village board.
So we can,
They're welcome to come back before this board for workshop meetings, but this board will not be able to grant any approvals until such time as the other boards take action.
okay. Victoria, would you explain to the public exactly what the seeker is and why it had to be done, and also make sure that everybody knows that no approvals were given, just that the seeker was, you just declared a negative deck on the seeker, please?
Sure, sorry, there was some feedback. So you want me to explain what seeker is?
Yes, and then
Okay.
the reason we declared a negative deck, and also that we did not grant any approvals whatsoever, just that we just completed the seeker process.
Sure. Seeker is the State Environmental Quality Review Act. It's a law of the state of New York, and it requires every agency in the state to consider the environmental impacts of any action that it takes. The planning board is an agency, so therefore any action that the planning board takes has to be considered and reviewed under seeker. Here, as you just saw, the planning board went through all of the seeker questions to show that they've considered all of the potential impacts. And in this case, none of those potential impacts rose to the level of a large impact, which would have required the preparation of an environmental impact statement. The issuance of a negative declaration is just one step in the process. That allows all of the other agencies, the DOT, DEC, the Zoning Board of Appeals, the Village Board, to continue with their reviews. So all of those agencies will be bound by this board's environmental decision, but it will allow them to move ahead with their reviews. Anything else?
No, thank you. That's all the agenda items we have. Does anybody have any questions for anybody?
I just wanted to jump in and thank the village staff, their consultants, the village planning board for all the hard work over the past, closing in on 14 months of processing of the seeker process so far. And we look forward to moving our way through the other boards to get the land use entitlements for this project and to answering the site plan, the itty bitty questions of the site plan beyond the seeker process. So thank you for your hard work already. And we look forward to continuing to address your concerns.
Okay, thank you.
Have a great evening.
You too.
Joe has his hand raised.
Do any of the board members have anything further at this time?
Joe Modafferi wants to speak, but I'm having trouble.
Joe, go ahead.
Goodbye and thank you. That's all. Reiterating what Neil said. That's all. Just waving to say goodbye. See you all soon.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have one thing to bring up unrelated to the other topics before the meeting is over.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Regarding the Burger King project, I just need the planning board's guidance on this. They are proposing to do a slight site plan modification. They want to eliminate one drive-through lane. However, in the interim, they're looking for a demolition and building permit. I want to make sure that the planning board is okay that I grant the permits that they're asking for while they're in the process of getting the amended site plan for the driveway, which really does not affect the demolition or the siting of the new building.
Until they get the new site plan approved, they're operating under the old approved site plan. And you're saying it's no different for the driveway or the demolition?
There's no difference as far as the initial work, that being the removal of the building and the siting of the new building. That will be what will take place during the in the interim before they get the amended site plan approvals. They just want to know that they're going to be given their demo permit and the building permit in the next week or so. And I just want to make sure the planning board is okay with that. Otherwise, I will hold off on that until they finalize the amended site plan. But I really don't think it's relevant to the actual initial work, but that's just my opinion.
Well, you're the keeper of the gate there, Tom. If they can't really do anything other than the demolition and until the revised site plan, correct? Is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is the, yeah, I mean, they can take the building down. That's not going to affect the amended site plan application. They can actually site the new building as well, because that's not going to be affected by the driveway one way or the other.
There's someone here from Burger King, Connor M. I don't recognize the name, but.
There should be a Steve Wilson here too. I'm not sure he's
Oh.
here.
That must be Steve.
Hi, Victoria. Thanks for unmuting
My name
me.
is
I don't know
Connor.
why my screen's coming through as Connor M, but it's Steve Wilson from Bowler Engineering. Good evening, all. Yes, just to kind of help or jump in with what Tom was explaining, Burger King expects to make application to modify its previously approved site plan, which it's a minor modification. It would simply be removing one of the drive-through lanes. But they would still like to continue to get their building permit, as the store is actually closed now and ready for demolition as soon as we get permits in order. And they will essentially proceed at risk. If, in fact, we make our site plan submission and the board, for whatever reason, says, no, you need to keep 2 drive-through lanes, then they will, in fact, build the plan as approved. So that's all I think that's all we're really asking, just to kind of continue on the path we're on, get a building permit for the currently approved project, and then at the same time, we're going to make a submission for a minor site plan amendment.
Members of the board, what is your opinion? It seems to me that when we did through this, the question was raised, why did they have to have 2? And
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
think the planner asked that question.
Yes, I think I heard that question asked more than once or twice.
yeah,
Our planner's really on the ball.
Hans, if I might interject, this is not uncommon to like a typical field change request.
That's right.
That might, that say it comes to, to Tom, and Tom says, you know what, this is something that I think rises to the level that before I agree that it's a field, an acceptable field change, I want the planning board to weigh in on it. So I think really what they've done is they've given you a courtesy in saying, just a heads up, we're going to be coming in and asking for a field change, but if you don't approve that, we're going forward with our site plan as approved.
That's correct.
Hi, it's Teresa. Would the new site plan approval be in the next meeting or soon, before you start building again at all?
No, it wouldn't. I don't think we'd have the approval before we want to go to construction. They're ready to, like
Well,
I
you have to
said,
have approval before you go to construction, is that right? For the new site plan?
No, they have a current approval, Teresa. They have a site plan approval. They're saying they're going to get out there and start building that. And just let's use an example. Say when they were out there, they found an underground electric line that nobody knew about. I mean, that's never going to happen these days. And they wanted to revise something, and it's just a matter of changing something slightly. Normally, something like that would be just dealt with as a field change. They're saying, we're out there. We don't think we really need this extra lane now, so we're gonna remove it. But that's not what their site plan shows. So they're going to ask for a field change. And Tom's saying, I don't feel comfortable changing that. Just on my own authority, I would like the planning board to weigh in on it.
Okay. Thanks, Larry.
You're welcome, Teresa.
I had my mic turned off here. Teresa, does that answer your question?
Yes.
Suzanne, do you have any comment?
No, no comment.
Raylene?
Raylene, you're muted. Can you unmute yourself, Raylene? We are unable to unmute her, so she's gonna have to do it herself.
All right. Steve?
No, I think I'm fine with that, what's being proposed, Hans.
Yeah, so do I. It seemed to me that we questioned what they needed to, so now they seem to look our way at it. So, do we need a motion on this?
Yeah, we should have a motion to preserve it, the record.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion that Tom be authorized to go ahead and that the applicant will submit a revised site plan at a future date. Do I have that motion?
So moved. It's Teresa.
This is Steve, I'll second it.
I have a motion second. Secretary, take a roll call vote, please.
Hans,
Yes?
Teresa,
Yes.
Raylene,
Raylene.
Steve,
Yes.
Suzanne.
Yes.
Okay, without Raylene, it's carried.
Okay, motion has been carried. All right, Tom, you can go ahead and issue those permits. Any other comments or questions? Tom?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions from anybody before we close?
No.
Nope, I'm good.
Hi, it's Teresa. I'm good too.
Okay. Would the Tom and Angie and Victoria and Sarah stay online? At this time, I'll entertain a motion to close the meeting.
So moved. It's Teresa.
Second, Suzanne.
Okay, I have a motion second, roll call, vote please.
Hans,
Yes.
Teresa,
Yes.
Raylene still muted.
Yes.
Steve
Yes.
and
Oh, is
Suzanne.
that she in the waiting room?
Suzanne. Yeah, it looks like she's in the waiting room. She's calling back.
I just got her.
Oh, she must have been frozen.
Yeah. But she's still muted. Raylene, you're muted.
It's carried. 8:32 meeting end.
Okay.
8:32.
29.
29. Looking at my clock, it's a little fast. Sorry.
Close enough.
That's right.
Okay, thank you all.
All right.
Hey, good night all.
Good night.
Night.
Bye.
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 Okay, Victoria, are we off the air?
Nope.
No.
Not yet.
Okay.
Hans, do you want me to